Remember as a kid, jumping, swinging as if you were a gymnast? Take a second, think back to the schoolyard, and visit our playground today in St. Petersburg. It's a new day for Russia's children to play. Youthful exuberance and ebullience taking form. A metamorphosis of ambition. Growing up with dreams of future success, future gold, and incomparable belief that someday I can be the best. Today, some of Europe's finest will fulfill that childhood destiny and be crowned. It's a day of enshrinement. It's another resplendent and golden sunrise in St. Petersburg, Russia, the city named after Peter the Great. And Peter and Paul Fortress, which rests on the banks of the Neva, a bastion of strength and former guardian of the city. The venerable edifices around St. Petersburg give testimony to its rich history. It's a window to Europe, and today we peer through that window and into the world of gymnastics at SKK, the St. Petersburg Sport and Concert Complex, for the 1998 European Gymnastics Championships. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones. Make no mistake, the European Championships is the most prestigious meet on the gymnastics calendar this year, with gymnasts competing for both team and individual honors. Bart Connor, the talent level here is beyond reproach. And Mark, we really have some of the biggest and hottest names in women's gymnastics here to compete, like the dramatic Svetlana Horkina from Russia, also the explosive Victoria Karpenko from Ukraine, and the steady Simona Amanar from Romania. Now they'll all be competing for the prestigious all-around title, which has been won by so many greats in the past, like Lyudmila Teresheva and even Nadia Comaneci. Your wife, the only three-time winner at this competition. We'll get to the women a little bit later. We've seen 3 rotations in the men team competition. Some interesting storylines. And right off the bat, Romania started on the vault in the first rotation. This is an event where they are terrific, and it's also an event where the scores tend to be the highest. Dorian Petcu had their highest score with a 9.562. Russia opened the meet on the rings. It's not their best event, but 19-year-old Russia's superstar Alexei Bondarenko showed adequate strength work, but it was with this terrific swing combination at the end of his routine that helped him earn a 9.562 for Russia. In the second rotation, Francis-Eric Poujade, an Olympic finalist in Atlanta, performed a complex exercise, scoring a 9.75, lifting France from 8th place all the way up to 3rd in the team standings. Meanwhile, Russia's Alexei Nemov moved to an event where he reigns as Olympic champion, and he scored a 9.5 with this well-executed vault. Russia was in first place after 2 rotations. But it was in the 3rd rotation, Nemov, who had been prone to inconsistency, he botched his parallel bar routine, and Russia had to count his 8.5 into the team total. But disaster struck for Belarus when Vitaly Rudnitsky slipped and crashed. Now, luckily, he was not hurt, but the Belarus team had to count a disastrous 0 into their team total. Which brings us to the format, the usual one of which is 6 gymnasts per team, 5 on each apparatus, 4 scores count, but this is very different. It's completely different. This is what they call the 5-3 format. There are 5 gymnasts on the team. Only 3 compete on each apparatus, but all 3 scores have to count. So if you have a disaster like Rudnitsky or even a minor mistake, it can dramatically affect the team standings. This is Dmitry Karpenko. You know, he was born here in Russia. He used to compete for this country, but now he competes under the colors of France. And he lives in Cannes. And Mark, this guy is carbo-loaded for vaulting. He's 5'8" and 154 pounds. This is a big boy to do this difficult vault. There it is. Nice. He is one of the few gymnasts in the world to consistently land that very, very difficult vault. The start value is from a perfect 10. His technique is remarkable, and yet he's such a big boy. It looks like a boulder falling down a hill, and yet somehow he lands it perfectly. And Karpenko's score, a 9.625. Competitors get just 1 vault, so they have to make it count. 6 events happening simultaneously here at these European Championships. We take you over to the high bar. This is Alexei Bondarenko of Russia, who as a junior had a stellar career, and now competing as a senior has maintained that solid pace, and he is the reigning Russian champ, Bart. And really, Mark, you can see why, because he goes for very difficult exercises. Watch this release here, right over the bar.
Now, sometimes he adds a full twist into that move. Looks like today perhaps he's going to play it safe a little bit for the team. Keep in mind, this is a critical team battle. No scores are dropped. So everyone is hoping to be just consistent and yet fulfill the requirements. Oh, there's a mistake. Now, he made a good cover-up, but he left out an important requirement in that routine.
Bondarenka says he wants to become the leader of this Russian national team.
Let's take a look at what happens here. This is what they call a jam to an invert or an eagle giant. And he's supposed to go over the top, but he comes up short and has to cover up there. He'll lose at least 0.4 of a point for that mistake.
And the judges may have seen the same thing, Bart. His score, an 8.787. Alexei Nemov of Russia comes highly acclaimed. He needs more than an 8.876 on the high bar for Russia to stay ahead of France. Now, you may notice a lack of people in the seats. Russia and its embryonic free market economy struggling right now, so people having a hard time getting enough money to buy tickets.
Mark, that was kind of the same case 4 years ago when we discovered this young man at the Goodwill Games in this very building. Not very many people in the stands. Nice opening sequence. Now here comes the most difficult move in his routine right here.
Oh, he's down. Nemov is off, touching the bar and maybe asking why it betrayed him.
Wow, you know, he reached up to grab the bar because when you sling off like that, it goes ping and the bar is kind of rattling. And so not only was the bar rattled, but he was rattled.
And now, Bart, he has, what, 30 seconds to continue?
Right, and he'll lose a 0.5 point for falling. Let's see what happened. It looks like he was just too close to the bar. His arms were bent as he started to swing through the bottom, and you just cannot hang on with those kind of G-forces. Okay, he's going to do it again. Oh, that's what he wanted the first time.
Nemov, undaunted, comes back.
Always stylish and very clean with the rhythm in his exercise. But you know, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I can't believe I fell. This is the team competition, and every score counts.
Lean on the dismount, though.
Let's take a look at what happens on this release move. He's playing it a little conservative for the team competition, but his arms are bent there. And as he starts to swing through the bottom, you see that ping, he's gone.
And Nemov scored an 8.837, so he didn't get the 8.876 that he was looking for. As a result, the standings after 4 rotations, France 0.039 ahead of Russia. Then it's Germany, Ukraine, and Romania. They're playing Stars and Stripes forever here in Russia. We're going to throw it back to our Wide World of Sports studio and Robin Roberts. Robin, who would have ever thought Stars and Stripes forever in Russia? Exercise of Russia. Some of the pictures you're seeing today are provided to us via Russian television, and we'd like to extend a very hearty thank you for their warm hospitality.
Mark, when you watch Bondarenka tumble, he reminds me of a bird with hollow bones. He's so quick and precise, just a little low right there.
Not that much room for error, because just a few moments ago, Bart, his teammate Dmitry Lvov scored just a 7.825 in the floor exercise.
A lot of pressure in this unusual format, team competition. Nice sequence right there. We'd also like to take this moment to wish happy Mother's Day weekend to all the mothers out there, and especially our friend and colleague Kathy Johnson-Clark back in California, who would normally be here with us commentating, but she's home with her brand spanking new Sean Patrick, just 5 weeks old. Congratulations, Kathy and Brian.
You can see gymnasts in the background and competing in other events simultaneously.
Oh, and a great finish for Bondarenka. Beautiful landing. You know, he's only 5'2½", 112 pounds, so he's like 40 pounds lighter than Nemov and Karbanenko. But this tumbling pass here, although it's not the most difficult one in the routine, it's the most important in terms of bonus points. He earns 0.5 of a point bonus.
Over to Sergei Harkov of Germany in the vault. Bondarenka's score, meanwhile, on the floor, a 9.612. Harkov used to compete for Russia.
He's 27 years old. 10 years ago, the Olympic champion on the floor exercise at the Olympics in Seoul. Oh, nice landing. He nailed it like a dart going into a dartboard.
Sergei Harkov, another Russian competing now for a different country. A few moments ago, Alexei Nemov of Russia inauspiciously and ignominiously departing from the high bar with a low score. Now in the floor exercise, Bart, this is really where he shines.
Yeah, this is really where he's going to show his class and his elegance. I'm still trying to look up those words. What'd you say? Inauspicious, whatever. Anyway, he is really a stylist here. And yet he's had a rough competition. This is his first full all-around competition since last year's World Championships last fall. We saw him struggle on parallel bars. He fell off high bar. Hard to fall off the floor, I guess.
I like that little breakdance move in his routine. Harkov, meanwhile, with a 9.287 in the vault.
Watch this move here. Shows, even though he's a pretty good-sized guy, watch how quick he is when he rebounds right here. Boom. Very explosive at the same time.
Or you think back to his great performance at the Olympics, the gold medals. You wonder now if that was just fool's gold, because he hasn't come close to realizing that potential since.
I know he's disappointed you here, Mark. He's really even watered down some of his gymnastics. He's trying to upgrade some of the difficulties. He lost some weight, and he's trying to get in better shape, get refocused since the Olympics. He had a shoulder surgery last year, and yet look at the power and the height that he can generate off that spring-loaded floor. These are the Thomas flares. His hips are so high above the floor, very impressive, and he goes up to the handstand easily, keeping the rhythm. And that little part there, I know that's the part you like, Mark.
Nemov's score, wow, he lived up to his billing and hype, a 9.762. And let the hype begin for the Indianapolis 500, a preview. France is on the cusp of a special opportunity. This would be their first ever European Gymnastics Championship for the men. And Dmitry Karbanyenka is the beacon of hope to take them there. He has to score higher than a 9.535 for France to stay in the lead.
I tell you, when you watch him perform on the parallel bars, you actually feel sorry for the parallel bars. He just beats the heck out of these things. He's big, he's powerful, he's very hungry and aggressive. That's what he brings to this French team. They were always very good technically, but he brings a desire. Look at the intensity in that landing.
Dmitry Karbanyenka.
Let's take a look at how he just destroys these parallel bars. At 5'8" and 154 pounds, a lot of people think he looks like a middle linebacker. TV makes you look bigger and stronger and thicker than you are. But that focus and that drive, that's really what he's bringing to this French team. That was always quite good, but now they're terrific because of him.
Bringing leadership as well as a 9.575. And that's enough to keep France in the lead. Just 3 1/1000ths over Ukraine, Russia, Germany, and Romania, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. A look at the Russian Museum, the home of many immaculate works of art, including Karl Brulov's The Last Days of Pompeii. Bart, that thing is huge.
Yeah, I don't know how they got it inside that museum.
And this is Eric Poujade of France up on the high bar. France leading heading into the final rotation. Poujade, Bart, more known as a pommel horse competitor.
That's right, 2 times a silver medalist at the World Championships. He already contributed a 9.75 to the team over there. He has some good combinations here. Watch this in-bar, pirouette, in-bar, pirouette again. He earns bonus points for connecting those elements. Nice high release.
He's so tall and angular. Helps him, doesn't it?
It does, but you notice his toes are not really very well pointed. That distracts from the entire body line. The judges will take off a little bit because the entire form and presentation isn't as clean as some of the other gymnasts here. Nice landing, though.
Eric Poujade. The French team trying to put the team title out of reach from the Russians. And it'll be up to the last competitor for France, Dmitry Karbanyenka, to punctuate the perfect homecoming for him and win their first ever team title. And it'll take an imperturbable will of steel.
Russia. France.
In my soul, I'm Russian, but now I am Frenchman.
Dmitry Karbanyenko was born outside Moscow. As a promising young gymnast, he was brought to the Russian Gymnastics Training Center and proudly competed for his motherland until he fell in love with a French journalist named Astrid.
She comes to see us for take some interview, and I meet her. She meet me, and we turn so quickly.
They married in 1994, and although Dmitry loved Russia, the couple soon moved from Moscow to the south of France.
When I arrived in Antibes, on the French area, for me it was a little bit difficult because when I was in Russia, it was a totalitarian regime. And in Antibes, everything is okay, every day sun, everything good, people on the beach, in restaurant. It's a little bit difficult to do gymnastics because you must say in yourself, you must go in the hall.
He tried to live in France and compete for Russia, but he was unexpectedly left off the '96 Russian Olympic team by head coach Leonid Arkayev.
Normally, I must be on the team. In Russia, it's Arkayev who take decisions for everybody, from everybody, and for everything. And but you know, I don't go to Atlanta because it's he who take decision. But now it's past. Now I can show him what maybe it was mistake from him.
Dmitry became a French citizen in August of 1996 and joined the French national team. In switching teams, he gave up the prominence of the Russian team name recognition, but he gained the chance to become the leader of his new team and in a way rejuvenate his own career.
Ironically, one of the last times that Karbanyenko appeared in Russian team colors was 2 years ago at the European Gymnastics Championships. Now he returns as a prospective conquering hero wearing French colors. He is the last competitor here on the high bar.
And watch how aggressive he is. Double over the bar. He's got one more of those coming up. Here it is. Oh, yeah, nice. He's a really popular figure in the gymnastics world because he goes for tricky combinations. Look at this, 1.5. He's short a little bit. I can't believe he muscled that out.
Strength always a factor with Karbanyenko.
He is so aggressive. He just seems to power. Look at the triple.
Dmitry Karbanyenko, what do you think? Good enough, Bart?
I don't know. I think it's good that he had those guns. Look at those things. They came in handy. It's like he pulled the whole building underneath them to get over the top of the bar.
Just a few yards away, his former coach, Arkayev, and former teammates and friends anxiously await his score, as does Karbanyenko. Meanwhile, Poujade scored a 9.262, Bart.
And, Mark, this is the critical part in the routine right here. He does a 1.5 twist over the bar. And watch this. Now, he comes up short, and I swear if there any moisture in the bar, he would have just squeezed it out. We better go up there and check to see if he left his fingerprints in that hardened steel.
Yeah, he's that strong. His score, meanwhile, a 9.412. But the question begs, will it be good enough to keep the French ahead of the Russians? When we return, we'll find out if the reigning Olympic champs can march towards a European team title here. We'll return after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Hermitage is mandatory. It originally started off as Catherine the Great's Winter Palace. The Russians poised and ready now. The Russian team feeling these last moments of finality. This is their last apparatus, just 3 gymnasts to go. And here's Alexei Bondarenko. They've got to average 9.3 or better to surpass France.
Very nice opening sequence there.
This is a good event for him, isn't it, Bart?
It sure is. He's the Russian national champion here, and typical for him, he has maximum difficulty on every piece of equipment. Little form break there. His trademark, though, is really precise technique. Good form. Very aggressive through the finish.
His expression never changing. Alexei Bondarenko.
Let's take a look at this sequence when he travels back to the end. This is what they call Russian Moors. I'll tell you one thing, I don't think the Russian guys thought they'd be up against the wall here against France in Russia.
Meanwhile, a few yards away, Dmitry Karbanyenka pacing as if to be a nervous father in the maternity ward, right now awaiting the birth of a team championship. Bondarenko with a 9.525. Alexei Niemov's portfolio contains both performance and potential. Sometimes the two do not equate. They have to right now for Niemov and Russia. The last two competitors must average 9.182 or better, Bart. That's attainable?
Oh, look at this. He's off. I can't believe he's standing on the floor.
And that puts Karbanyenka and France that much closer to a team title.
Wow, and he was just getting into his routine. He's had some trouble today. He fell off the parallel bars. He fell off the high bar. Was strong on the floor, as we saw. This is a shock.
And that's going to put even more pressure on Kryukov, who's next.
I know Niemov is thinking, I can't believe I fell off. Good finish, but he is shocked.
And Dmitry Karbanyenka probably can't believe what he saw either.
Yeah, you don't expect Niemov to fall off the horse, especially in a heated team competition like this.
The two former teammates and present friends who've trained together, sweat together, worked together for so many years, now following different paths.
Let's see if we can spot what happened. This is what they call the Russian Moor. You know, you're a Russian, you ought to be able to do the Russian Moors, don't you think? It looked like a very simple mental mistake. He should have been able to stay on.
His score, an 8.725. What does that do for their chances, Bart?
I'll tell you one thing, certainly Niemov had a disastrous day. He missed 3 of 6 events. It'd be like Michael Jordan having a lousy game and then missing a couple of clutch free throws at the end. It puts them in a very awkward situation with this young man coming up next.
That young man is Nikolai Kryukov, just 19 years old. There have been several occasions where he says he looks towards Niemov for inspiration. Well, that last performance by Niemov was devoid of any inspiration.
I'll bet right now he's thinking, hey, thanks a lot, Niemov. It's all in my hands.
Kryukov is an Olympic gold medalist, Bart, so at 19 he might have felt this type of pressure before.
And this happens to be a spectacular event for him. He has plenty of difficulty, nice technique.
He needs more than a 9.639 for Russia to win.
Oh, and this is just terrific. Watch how many times he travels across the horse, back and forth at the end of the exercise. All he needs now is a clean finish right to the handstand. Oh, it's going to be in the hands of the judges now.
It's up to them. And the French team thinks that the gold is in their hands right now. Celebrating. But is it premature? The Russians think they have it won.
You know, we talked with Kryukov before the meet about honest judging. He said it never existed and probably never will. Well, he did a great routine. It is in the laps of those judges right now.
And Kryukov's score is not enough. It's a 9.625. That means that France has its first ever men's European team title. Niemov may be blaming himself right now. So it's retribution for Dmitry Karbanyenka as France defeats Russia for first place by 14 1/1000ths of a point. Germany in third. Bart is standing by with the conquering hero.
Dmitry, this was a very exciting victory. How important was this to come home and win the way you did?
But you know, for me now, it's I don't know how I feel. For me, it's double pleasure. you know, I don't know how I can say in English, but for me it's twice pleasure for me because I'm Russian, but now I'm French, you know. For me it's credible. It's unbelievable.
A perfectly written script for Karpenyenka. The women are coming up next on our gymnastics playground here in St. Petersburg. Right now, we're going to send it back to Robin Roberts in our Wide World of Sports studio in New York.
All right.
Russia, and a few moments ago on the medal podium, Dmitry Karpenyenka and his French teammates. I'll tell you one thing, Bart Connor. Karpenyenka will never win a lip sync contest. This is during the French national anthem. Look at his lips.
Well, you know, Mark, he's only been a citizen of France for about 1 year and 8 months. The guys behind him are singing the national anthem, but he doesn't know the words.
Got to get somebody from the French delegation to fax him the words to the national anthem.
He goes, hey, guys, don't sing. You're making me look stupid.
Well, you can bet that he'll keep his day job and forget the singing gig. Well, Dmitry Karpenyenka of France certainly living up to his billing in the men's team competition. Bart Connor, somebody that didn't live up to their press clippings the last time we saw her, Svetlana Horkina of Russia.
That is true, but she's still our sport's biggest and hottest star. She's glamorous, she's opinionated, she's controversial, and she's spectacular in every way. She's already won 12 world and Olympic medals, but she didn't look that focused and in that good of a shape when we saw her in France a month ago. Now, we also need to pay attention to the Romanians, Amanar and Presecan. There's a tremendous amount of turmoil in the Romanian program. Head coach Octavian Bellu, who's been there 18 years, has said he's leaving in July. And then recently at a training camp in Venezuela, one of the officials of the Romanian Federation was shot in a robbery attempt. So these young ladies have been through a lot. They were able to hold it together in the team competition where they defeated Russia and Ukraine, but the question remains, can they hold it steady today in the all-around competition, considering all of their distractions?
Well, the French women were 4th in the team competition. This is the individual all-around now. And Elvire Teza of France trying to ride that crest of success enjoyed by the French men, juniors, and seniors alike.
She was a finalist in the World Championships on this event. And this is the trick that is critical. Oh! She made a mistake. Normally she goes around underneath the beam. Wow.
The music here in the background is for the floor exercise. We have 3 other apparatus in use at the same time. Teza usually does pretty well on her own move.
Yeah, you think if you invented it, you'd have to do it right, but I think this young lady is so good for the sport of gymnastics because she comes in, she doesn't do the same old cookie-cutter routine. She has original skills. She goes for some daring sequences. Watch this here. Watch this finish, 2.5 twister, nicely done. Man, I don't know why it is that every move she invents is borderline abusive. Take a look at this move. She normally lands here, but watch what happens. Her hands miss the beam. She normally goes completely around underneath the beam, and that's what they call a teza. This next move is not one that she invented, but is equally abusive.
Ouch.
Amazing talent.
Teza's score, a 9.675. Well, next Saturday live at 4:30, Presecan now of Romania. Her second vault coming up. On her first, she scored a 9.287. They'll average the 2.
The Romanians normally very steady on the vault. Nicely done for Presecan. Now, as I mentioned a minute ago, a lot of turmoil in the Romanian program. Head coach Octavian Bellu is threatening to leave this summer. And the gentleman that I mentioned was shot in Venezuela. He's recovering in a hospital in Romania, and I know he's on the minds of these young ladies.
Presecan's second vault worth a 9.425, giving her an average of 9.356. And coming up next, we get our first look at Svetlana Horkina of Russia, sometimes charismatic and sometimes enigmatic. Stick around. We'll be right back.
accents, etc.
Russia. She carries herself in a very regal way. After all, she is the reigning queen of gymnastics, but she hasn't performed like it lately. She had difficulty on this apparatus in the team competition, Bart.
Yes, on that opening tumbling sequence, she fell. She has a couple of signature moves in this exercise. She's very calm on the beam. That's important in terms of being able to stay stable in competition. That's a Horkina, the full twisting back handspring.
It'll be interesting to see if she can gather her composure and really use that uneven bar performance. Good score on the last event of the team competition earlier, and use that to propel her and get some momentum going here.
I expect that she'll do reasonably well today. She has been getting better and better. We saw her about a month ago. She wasn't in great shape. Good control there on that sequence, a very difficult combination. It's interesting, the originality she brings to gymnastics. One of the greatest tributes a gymnast can have is getting a skill named after them. Well, she has 6 skills named after her, more than any other gymnast in the history of the sport. Watch this dismount. Just as different, off the side and clean.
She loved it too, Svetlana Horkina.
This is a perfect example of her composure. Watch, she's a little bit off there, but she keeps her arms moving and the rhythm going, giving away just a minor deduction.
Horkina rewarded with a 9.787. Over the vault now, and this is Simona Amanar of Romania. On her first vault, she scored a 9.612. This is her second one coming up. They'll average the 2 scores.
Take a look at the body position here, a little bit piked. Now, it'll be interesting to see what the judges do with that, because this vault, the judges have actually been stricter on the deductions for this vault than they were last year at the World Championships. It's called a Phelps. It's named after J.C. Phelps, the American gymnast. You're supposed to keep your body perfectly straight in the air. Notice she's piked there. I think she'll get a bigger deduction than she got last year at the World Championships. What is impressive about this vault, however, is the height and the distance from the horse. Really clean.
And her average of the 2 vaults is 9.543.
Вольное упражнение.
This is Victoria Karpenka of the Ukraine in the floor exercise, and one of the questions that begs with her is, when will she truly round into her promise and her potential and form?
She's been dealing with an injury here. Let's see what she uses for opening sequence. Nicely done, good bonus combination. She has watered down some of her more difficult tumbling. She's so powerful that she can actually water down her tumbling sequences and still get good bonus points. Nice.
Her coach, Oleg Ostapenko, calls her, Bart, the most talented gymnast he's ever seen. Lofty praise.
He has worked with some of the best, including Olympic and world champion Lilia Podkopaeva. But what he sees in this gymnast is terrific technique and more than enough power to be the next great champion of gymnastics. If she can deal with some of the injuries she's been fighting the last couple of years. Look at the power in her last tumbling run.
Victoria Karpenka of the Ukraine.
Outside of her recent injuries, this young lady has no limitations. The power in this sequence here, she performs every tumbling move effortlessly. This is a good example of her endurance. Is her last tumbling run. Good, clean technique. She's fighting for those landings today. She's more focused than she was in the team competition.
Karpenka, a 9.612. That's good enough for 4th place after the first rotation in the women's all-around. Horkina is in first. We'll return after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Our ABC crew had a chance to see the city via canal on one of the boats and went by the Church of Spilt Blood. Look how ornate it is. It's modeled after St. Basil's in Moscow. This is Martina Bremini of Italy on the beam. Rather interesting way of getting onto the beam part.
That's right. That shoulder stand pirouette was actually invented by Romanian Daniela Silivash, but a lot of American gymnastics fans may remember that Olympic gold medalist Dominic Moceanu used that in the Olympics in Atlanta.
The Italian team enjoying a measure of success here at the European Championships, finishing 6th in the team competition.
And 3rd in the juniors, and that was a big surprise for the Italians to be contending with the traditional greats of gymnastics like Romania, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus. We spoke with the technical director of Italian gymnastics, Evgeny Shendere. He's originally from Russia. He's been in Italy about 20 years, and he said their philosophy is to find the kid who's got the right head for gymnastics, and then they can make them a great athlete. But he said you can't take a great athlete if they don't have the right mind for it.
Interesting philosophy.
There's her dismount. Not bad.
Martina Bremini of Italy.
Then we talk about the Italians profiling their gymnasts. Maybe they're also considering hair color. Who's the other great Italian gymnast, Mark Jones?
Let me go into my book here. Yuri Keki.
Also a redhead.
Right. And her score, a 9.437. Back to Horkina now of Russia. Getting set to take the floor. Look at the camera. She is never far from one, it seems. And she has a diverse personality. Part gymnast, part actor, part sex symbol, believe it or not.
To see Svetlana Horkina at work is to witness a diva in action. Here at the Russian Training Center outside Moscow, there is no time for silliness or socializing. Her presence clearly dominates the gym. This is a world champion, a title she's earned by fighting the odds.
It was a struggle because she was so tall. The national team coaches told me I was wasting my time with her. She had to prove herself every time.
Once this self-assured young woman stood in the shadow of another Svetlana, her idol and former teammate, Boginskaya. But those times are just memories.
At first, I really wanted to see Boginskaya up close. She was an idol to me. Now, when young kids come, I am for them the same thing Boginskaya was for me. I can see they fear I might not even notice them.
For Sveta, as she is called, it took an iron will to fulfill her potential and silence her critics. It is clear that this is a difficult journey, and it has changed her. But she has emerged as a woman in control.
I worked with her since she was 5 years old. So I compare the little girl I started with who carefully listened and believed my every word. Now that's changed. She has her own will. Things concern her other than gymnastics. It is difficult with her, but also interesting.
I am like an actress. It seems to me I can play anything. When I don't want to train, I pretend to have a fever, a headache, whatever you want. They say I should have entered acting school.
Horkina is a woman of many faces. Pensive one moment, wildly expressive the next. Recently, she appeared partially nude in Russian Playboy. For Sveta, it was a necessary distraction from a demanding life. Now at 19, she's not only a world champion, but a sex symbol.
I love it that people think of me that way. It's just one more title to add. Let people think of me as a sex symbol.
With an eye to her future, Horkina sees all-around Olympic gold as the ultimate goal. But beyond gymnastics, there are other hopes.
First of all, I want my parents to be healthy. I want my sister to find her way. For me, I have a long, challenging road ahead of me. I want a lot for myself, and I think I'll get by.
We've seen her at both ends of the spectrum, sometimes irascible, sometimes irresistible. There she is, Horkina.
Mark, this is an exciting new floor routine to the music of Pulp Fiction. It was choreographed by Yelena Kapitanova, and it's one of those routines that she just dares you to not watch.
She is such a performer. Horkina with those long lines and extremely angular and lithe. This is where her personality can really begin to shine and show. She snuck in a smile right there. Svetlana Horkina of Russia. You know, with some gymnasts, it's the tumbling aspect of the floor exercise that comes to the fore, but not with Horkina. With her, it's her style, it's her grace, it's the dance elements. She's very balletic in her movements. And of course, St. Petersburg is thought to be the cradle of ballet with its school. Look like Baryshnikov. And her score, a 9.675. Horkina will be propelled by some of the Russian fans here in attendance, waving their flags. It's been a very exciting and compelling week of competition here, and competing in St. Petersburg can be very daunting, Bart Conner, can it?
You know, Mark, a foreign gymnastics team coming here to Russia has about as much chance of winning as, let's say, a visiting basketball team does against the Chicago Bulls at home. Not much. Well, you know, when we came in here, we thought it was going to be all caviar, but it turned out the meal was camembert and brie, because the French team was a surprising dominant team in the men's competition. In fact, they won the junior team competition and the junior all-around led by Florent Marais. They won 7 medals in all, 6 of them gold. So by the time it came around for the senior men's all-around title, it was up to a pair of Alexeys, Nemov and Bondarenka, to see if they could win one for the home team. Alexei Bondarenka made it clear that he had gold on his mind at the pommel horse, 9.562. Then Karbanyenka nailed this handspring double front for 9.625. But Alexei Nemov said, anything you can do, I can do better, and did best him first place at the halfway point in the competition. But Bondarenka bounced back with his own handspring double front, 9.587. He was once again in first place. Nemov moved to the high bar where he had trouble in the team competition, and once again, ping, he flew off. Karbanyenka finished a clean triple back somersault. He was in second place. In the final rotation, Bondarenka went for all of his difficult moves, nailed them, and clinched the all-around gold medal. You know, Mark, I like when the little guy wins.
It's funny, Bart, when I first met you, I thought you were a lot bigger. You look bigger on TV.
I thought you were smarter, too.
Meanwhile, back to the women after 2 rotations. It's Horkina in first, Amanar in second, Presikon, Bremeny, and Karpenka in that order. Me and Shorty back right after this. St. Petersburg is here at the marketplace. 4 years ago, I came here for ABC's coverage of the Goodwill Games and met some very warm people.
From America,
to Russia. Good health to all. Wow, that was 4 years ago, and here I am once again in St. Petersburg, Russia, back for another free ride on the Kondrikina family welcome wagon. I would come halfway across the world to drink your borscht again. It's nice to be back. Yeah. Anatoly, Valentina, there have been many changes.
Our family is as strong as ever, but our little son is now as a soldiering in Moscow.
Life has not varied greatly for mom and dad, but for son Igor and daughter Roxana, the changes are more obvious.
Now I'm doing business for 2 years with my boyfriend Robert, and we are exporting the jewelry from France, and it goes quite well. I would say that the changes are not as big as we would like to have them. The country is more open, it's more easier to travel, more interesting people in here, but it's harder to make business because there is no proper laws, and the situation is not very stable.
Well, a lot has changed in 4 years here in Russia and abroad, but one thing remains the same right here. That is the warmth and the hospitality of the Kondrikina family. So to you, I'd like to propose a toast.
Yeah.
Спасибо.
Спасибо. Tell you, Bart, I'll do anything for a free meal, but really tremendously warm and wonderful people. This is Svetlana Horkina in the vault.
Mark, this is going to tell her whole story today as to whether she can win this all-around gold. This is the toughest event for her. This vault scores from a 9-9 if she does it well. Nicely done.
Just burgeoning with confidence today.
It's very exciting because, you know, by watching her in training, you can never really predict how well she's going to do. This vault is named after her, another one of her signature moves. Watch this. She's going to do a half turn and a piked back somersault. She lands very low, but that's how she always does it. It's going to get a good score.
Svetlana Horkina scored a 9.6 in her first vault. This is her second, and she might be able to take a step towards putting this thing away, Bart.
Well, I tell you, this is going to be the critical vault because she's going to do a Yurchenko with a 1.5 twist. She's had difficulty with this in the past. Let's see if she can make it. Oh! What a shock.
She really looks disappointed.
And she had been off to such a good start today, in the beam and the floor, looking refocused and intense again. Better shape than we saw her about a month ago in France. You know, she reminds me of a stork in a way. Really beautiful when she's flying, but when she comes down awkwardly, it can be pretty ugly. She was shorter rotation, then threw her shoulders forward to try to compensate. Nothing she could do.
An 8.95, giving her an average score of 9.275. Hey, tonight on ABC.
On the balance beam, and there's been a great evolution in the quality and the level of difficulty of performances. Take a look at that board right there. Those coil springs make that board just a little bit hotter than they did in the old days. And in fact, even the balance beam itself is spring-loaded.
But it almost makes you wonder if the equipment is progressing and evolving faster than the gymnasts are.
Well, I think it's a combination of two things. I think the athletes are stronger and better athletes than they were when we were competing, and also the evolution of the equipment allows them to do more complicated and difficult skills.
Amanar has never won a major international all-around title.
Twice she was a silver medalist in the all-around at the Worlds, and she was a bronze medalist at the Olympics in Atlanta.
She needs better than a 9.632 to pass Horkina for first place here in the all-around. Russia's economy plodding right now and a lot of empty seats as a result. Bart, does that affect the gymnasts?
Well, I think it is difficult for the gymnasts because they know that this is one of the most prestigious all-around titles you can win in the world, and yet there's so few people here to see them. It's very disappointing for the athletes. Amanar, very well known for her explosive acrobatic work, like this tumbling sequence coming up here for the dismount. 2 back handsprings to a double back. Not bad. Now, in this exercise, it appears that her tumbling is world class, but I'm wondering if the judges are going to give her full value for some of her dance elements, which tend to be incomplete.
9.512, Bart?
Well, that score was lower than I thought it was going to be. The judges must have hit her really hard on those dance connections.
Over to Victoria Karpenka of Ukraine. on the uneven bars. This was her highest scoring apparatus in the team competition. Bart, does that have anything to do with her injury?
Well, it's interesting enough that this is technically such a good event for her. She has 2 moves named after her, and because she does have an injury to her Achilles tendon, she can't tumble in vault as much as she liked. She spends a lot of time on the uneven bars, and it shows.
In the team competition, she had a 9.612.
Big dismount coming up, and she wraps the full twist. Nice.
Back over to the beam now, and Claudia Presicon of Romania. She needs better than a 9.719 to pass Horkina here in the all-around. Karpenka's score, meanwhile, a 9.725.
Oh, right away, a little bit of a bobble there on her opening sequence. She scored a 9.387 in the preliminaries, so she would need her best effort ever. Oh, nice layout, somersault, 2-foot landing. The judges require moves like that, leaps in series and combinations. They require the acrobatic elements that you've already seen.
Presicon was in 3rd place after 2 rotations. Now here in the 3rd.
This is also a requirement where the gymnast works down low onto the beam with their torso on the beam. She just seems a little bit off. She's doing all the required elements. Couple of shaky spots.
Is that music in the background disconcerting at all for them?
You know, a lot of gymnasts like it because it kind of breaks the tension. When the gym is really quiet, sometimes it's even worse. Okay, over-rotated the double back somersault. She just wasn't totally on, not nailing everything.
The standings beginning to take form after 3 rotations. Horkina in 1st, Presicon with a 9.637 in 2nd, Bart.
Well, that was a little higher than I thought it was going to be. I just never figure these judges out, Mark.
Probably never will, but we will figure out who will be crowned the all-around champion when we come back to the European Gymnastics Championships in St. Petersburg after this. Breeds comfort, then Svetlana Horkina of Russia should feel comfortable about her chances here. She has a tenuous lead for 1st place right now, and the bars is where she clinched the gold medal at Lausanne in the World Championships last year.
And Mark, when she is on, this routine is an absolute gymnastic masterpiece. 1.5 turn. Watch this transition to the low bar. Oh, she's on. This is the critical move. Made it. Ooh. All she has left is a dismount.
Well, she did it in the team competition, and she may have done it right there. Horkina.
And Mark, she is an amazing young lady. You know, we saw her a month ago, and she wasn't into it, but you can see right there, she is totally into this competition today.
Receiving congratulations from her teammates, coaches, and her score 9.887. That's the highest score of the competition for her so far. Quickly over to the beam, and Victoria Karpenka of Ukraine. She is thought by some to be the future.
We've been predicting that for 2 years. We saw her at the 95 Worlds, and then in 96 she was injured, didn't compete for Ukraine at the Olympics. 97, she broke her hand in the training right before the World Championships. And we saw her in early March in the United States at the American Cup, and it looked like she was really getting on track. And once again now, she has another injury. This time it's the Achilles tendon, so still remains to be seen whether she is going to deliver as people expect she will. Look at this acrobatic move, and she's going to... Oh! She stayed on the beam. Now, that is the same as a fall. Had she actually hit the ground, she would lose a half a point. The fact that she grabbed the beam with both hands, caught herself, she still loses a half a point.
Karpenka using a little strength at least to stay on.
In many ways, she reminds me of Karbanyenka in that she has more than enough strength to pull herself out of difficult situations.
On such a tiny frame at about 4.5 feet tall.
Most gymnasts would have completely fallen off. She was able to muscle it and stay on the beam. Look at this sequence. Nice finish. Unfortunately, a major error earlier in the routine. This is what they call an Arabian. It's a half turn into a front flip. It's not a completely new move, but it's one that's so difficult you rarely see it in competition, and you can see why.
When we come back, you know, this could be Romanian head coach Octavian Belu's last European championship with this group. Will they send him out in style? We'll find out in just a minute. From weather here in St. Petersburg, Russia, back for the conclusion of the European Gymnastics Championships and the women's all-around. Victoria Karpenka's score, a 9.337 on the beam.
Not sure if Simona Amenar knows it yet, but she needs more than a 10, which is an impossible part, to catch Horkina of Russia for the title.
Surely she doesn't know it. I don't expect that it'll affect her performance in any way. This is just a world-class event for her in terms of explosive tumbling. Not all of the gymnastic purists like her dance elements, but you gotta hand it to her, she can fly.
Amenar had one of her highest scores, actually her highest score of the preliminary qualifying on this apparatus, a 9.762 in the team competition.
Traditional gypsy, Greek gypsy music. Last tumbling run, pike double back somersault. Boy, with power to spare.
Simona Amenar. Hey, if you have a screen name and a computer and competitor of this competition on the floor, she needs better than a 9.969 to catch Horkina of Russia.
Look at the power in that opening laid out double back somersault. You said what she needs to get. No gymnast yet at these championships has even scored a 9.9, so she will have to be perfect. The music is traditional Romanian folk music, Culandra.
I know you're familiar with it. Amenar's score, meanwhile, was a 9.775. Bart, the Romanian team has gone through so many heartfelt moments with their coaching staff of late. This would be a great way to end it should she come up big.
Oh, it looked like she might have been out of bounds. She landed right on the tape. If you land on the tape, you're not out of bounds. If you go over the tape, you lose 1/10 of a point.
And the margin for error here for her is so small. It's come down to this, the last tumbling run for Presicon. She has got to nail this. She has no other choice. Let's watch along with Horkina.
It'll be a triple twist, and she's out of bounds.
Unbelievable. And Horkina says, yeah, it's mine. The European title is mine. Who would have thought that Horkina would come back to Russia and look so good after just a month ago, looking so unmotivated, so out of shape.
And in contrast, the Romanians are always so fit, she actually overpowers this last tumbling run.
Back to Horkina, though, a month ago in Paris. She left us with pronounced pouting. Today, she's puckering and blowing kisses. A look at the final standings. Horkina in first, Amenar in second, and Presicon, by virtue of her 9.612 on the floor, finishes in third. Yeah, you know, a month ago it seemed impossible for Horkina, but not today. She's the champ. Do svidaniya from Russia. Now back to Robin Roberts in our Wide World of Sports studio.